Hey, I want to welcome everybody to our call tonight. Hey, this is Rick Kaufman with afathersloss.com and empowering millions to begin to live life beyond their grief. Hey, just wanted to take a note and welcome you to all those of you that are online and also that have called in via the phone and also that are watching here on Facebook Live. On the Facebook Live, you just see my talking head. Those of you on the phone hear my talking head, and those of you that are online can see the PowerPoint presentation. Just a little bit of extra housekeeping here on tonight's call. As always, we are recording this call, but here's the thing. I'm also going to be the audio portion of this call. We are going to have it transcribed into a PDF document. That will be a downloadable document. If you would like to receive a copy, send me your email, and I'll make sure you get a copy of this. But at the same time, it's also going to be transcribed and put into an ebook for people to be able to download also. And the other thing is we're going to take sections of this and we're going to begin to put a workbook together. This is going to be a power-packed call with a lot of information that we're going to go over, and we're going to give you a ton of good stuff here. Okay, the title of tonight's call is The 3 Big Lies of Grief. And you're probably thinking, what am I talking about? Why would there be lies within grief? Why would the grief community, doctors and therapists and counselors and grief groups and things like that, why would they lie to me? Well, it's like this. It's not like they're lying, knowing that what they're telling you isn't true. It's the way, it's the power of the words that are being said to us. And I believe, as I went through my life for about 20 plus years, being lost in the fog and being stuck in my own grief, is that until I learned this process and I learned what the grief community wasn't teaching me, then I figured this out and I began to have success. I began to find and begin to move my life forward. I began to have clarity in my life. And then, until where I'm at today, where I live the life that I was intended to. I have complete happiness. I have joy. I have those days just like anybody else, but you know what? I can go beyond those days because, I have vision and a clarity. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get in and dive into this call because, like I said, I've got a lot of information to give you here tonight, and I want to really give you an opportunity to jot it down. So make sure you have some pens and paper, something to take some notes, because this is something, until I get the recording or any PDF document to you, I want you to be able to be able to have access to this as soon as possible. And so that way, if you hear something that's being what we're talking about here, I want you to be able to, take that and run with it. Okay, does that make sense? Great. Okay, well, let me get a quick drink here, and we will get started. Okay. Hey, again, if you're here online, you'll see the slide. It says lies, truth, has little arrows going all different kinds of directions, okay? And before I kind of get started here, I want to kind of give you the premise of where I learned this, okay? And if you begin to look at, other markets, okay, other businesses and other markets as far as when it comes to marketing, okay? So this is kind of a marketing ploy, I believe. But we're going to talk about the health and fitness craze. Okay, everybody knows comes New Year's resolutions. Most people have a resolution that they want to lose 10, 20 pounds, want to be more organized, want to be this, that. They, want to take a family vacation, want to spend more time with family. And then, typically, what is it, like February 6th or 12th or something like that? Within 4 to 6 weeks, the New Year's resolution is no longer. But here's the thing. The health and fitness craze. Everybody has the newest and best, way to make six-pack abs. They have the best workout, the best cardio, the best this, the best video. This person has this and the best kickboxing and whatever it is that's going to get you in shape like those people on TV. Okay? I'm 50 pounds overweight. I need to lose 30 to 40, 50 pounds. I know that. But, am I going to look like that? Well, I sure hope so. But then at the bottom of those ads, what do they have? They have a disclaimer. The disclaimer says this: results are not typical. Okay? So in other words, don't expect these results. They are not typical. Okay? If we begin to look at the grief community, Okay, if you take a look at the average person that has suffered loss and within grief, and then you see this one person who's really standing out and really achieving a lot of things in their life, and you know they had something very traumatic in their life. They overcame the adversity. I mean, this can be somebody that maybe was disabled or, accident, lost their legs, come back from war, combat, or maybe, they've lost a loved one, and, they've been able to rise above that. Okay? Understand that person's results are not typical. Okay? Most of us are going to be stuck. Okay? We're going to be stuck because I believe the grief community has conditioned us to be stuck. Other people who are suffering grief and loss are conditioned to be stuck. So in turn, they share with us when we, because we're following in their footsteps, a lot of times they share with us what they've learned, and in turn, they're just passing on the lie. In other words, they're the information to help you keep you stuck because, results are not typical. Okay, I don't believe the grief community, people within grief, it is starting to change, and they're starting to look at new things and the different things, but it's the power of the words. It's the power of the words that is being said. Now, where I'm going to go with this is there was a story that I'm going to tell you back when my daughter I got first called to go to the hospital. I was told to go to the hospital, and I remember as I got in my truck or my van and I was driving to the hospital, I could hear the sirens in the background. And I get to the hospital, I beat the ambulance to the hospital. I go in to the front doors and you see the receptionist desk and everything, and go to the right, and then to the left is the little desk where they take your insurance information. And to the right, today that room is a little, what do they call those rooms, a triage room, okay? But at that point in time, it was like a little addition to the waiting room. It's like a broom closet, really. But it had like a couch or a love seat and a table and a chair or something, and that was it. They put me in that room and closed the door. A few minutes later, a nurse comes in, and I think, oh, thank God, somebody that might know something. What's going on with my daughter? Well, before she turns around and tells me what's going on with my daughter, she enlightens me, that she's here to help me through this process, and she's here to do this. But before she can help me, she turns around and she tells me something. What she tells me is this. She says, Mr. Kaufman, I do not have any idea what you're going through, what you're feeling, the emotions and the pain and the worry and everything that you're going through. I work here in the ER. I see this a lot, but I don't understand what you're going through. But I'm here to help you and get the information that you need. Now, how in the world can she help me? That's what's going through my mind. I wanted to reach out and smack her. It's the worst thing anybody can say. I don't fault her, because what she's saying is totally true to her, but it's not what I want to hear, right? Any of us who've been a grieving parent or a person stuck in tragedy or loss or grief in a situation, a life or death situation, we don't want to hear that. We want to hear something that's confidence, that's going to set us at ease, that's going to turn around and allow us not to feel so alone. So what she did is she set me up for the rest of my life to turn around, or at least the very early stages in the first year or so, that nobody understood what I was going through. Nobody would understand my pain because she didn't, and she works in a hospital and she sees this all the time. So she doesn't understand. So nobody. What I'm experiencing is totally unique and unique to me and me only. Okay? And so that was something that's predicated upon a lie. It's something that she said, but my brain and my mind and my subconscious mind internalized it differently, and it meant something totally different to me than what it means to her. Okay? So what it is, it's a false truth. It's something that's not a true statement for what, I make it into the truth, or I make it to believe into a truth that I want to believe, which is ultimately a lie. I'm telling myself these lies. So when I say the grief community is lying to us, they are not the ones actually lying. It's what they're saying, how we're interpreting what they're saying, or what we hear goes in our ear, and then it kind of gets jumbled up, and then it kind of goes into our subconscious mind, and we process it, and this is what it means to us. Okay? And then we act out on the meanings of those things. Does this make – I hope this is making sense. Okay. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's – dive in here a little bit more on this, okay? And, we're going to talk about the lies of grief and what are the lies of grief, okay? Just like I was saying, these are statements, sayings that the grief community will tell us, other people will tell us, that, things that we might have to do in order to handle the situations or the way we need to look at it, Okay, and then ask yourself this: is there anything such called preferred lies? Is one lie or one statement carry more weight than the other? No, I don't believe so. I mean, the three big lies to me may not even be lies to you. Okay, it might be something totally different. We'll kind of touch on that here later. Okay, so. Where we're going to really get in and start talking about the three big lies. But understand this, that within these three big lies, there's actually hundreds of these lies that we have been told, and then we wind up saying these to ourselves. Okay, we repeat these things to ourselves, and then we go out and say these same things to other people. Okay, and we say them with such conviction and such things that these things have really done so much good for us, when ultimately we're stuck. We're stuck. We are not moving forward. We're not progressing. We are depressed. We're sad. We're angry. We still have all these emotions. And, we're saying it's like the 5 stages of the grief. We're just stuck in a literally circle. Today I'll accept it. Tomorrow I might be mad. The next day I'll have a trigger. Then I have this thing that now they want to turn around and say, well, you're just having a grief outburst. And so, you know what, you go have your outburst, go away, come back for when you feel better. And then your family and friends, because it's years later, your family and your friends don't want to see you. They don't want to be around you. You bring down the life. You're not the life of the party anymore. And there's just, and you really can't figure out why. Okay? And then they distance themselves from you. Let me say this. There is not one person in my life today that was a friend 24 years ago that is a friend in my life today. Okay? There's not a one. Every single one is gone. Okay? When I say gone, they're not dead and gone. They're gone. We might see each other at Walmart. We might see each other around town. Some of them are even on my Facebook page. But you know what? They don't comment on nothing I say. They don't like my posts. They're there. I half the time I don't see their posts. So I don't even know if they're still on Facebook. But anyways, with that being said, not a one of them was really in my life as a friend as what you would think a friend should be. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about the who, how, what, when, where, and why. So, who are these people telling us? Well, I just said earlier, these people are, doctors, therapists, counselors, maybe you're, a grief counselor or, your mental health professionals, things like this, okay? And they're your family, your friends, okay? They're, things you're reading in the book, authors and people in other books because, we want to read about other people's stories. And so they're telling us things of how they learned about how to deal with grief. And, that's kind of like the who is really saying these things. Okay. And then, the how are they saying it? Well, they're just saying these things. It's just words, but it's what they're saying, okay? It's what we're reading. It's what we're, it might be, what we're seeing in TV and TV shows, in the news, different places, and what are these things? Well, these are just statements, okay? These are little statements. They're supposed to be feel-good statements. They're supposed to help you out in this process and lead you down in a direction of what to expect, okay? And if I was to ask you, what do you expect out of grief? I mean, most of you probably have an idea. You wouldn't be listening to this or reading this or anything to do with this if you weren't struggling or had questions or had problems and issues with grief, right? Because if you were doing fine, you wouldn't be reading and you wouldn't be worried about this. You wouldn't be wanting to learn anything more and how to deal with your grief because you would feel that you're doing pretty doggone good. Okay, but because you are listening to this and reading this, then I'm going to probably fathom and probably guess that you're not doing so well. Okay, you could be doing better, right? And everything, and when do these people tell us? Usually, these things are being said a little bit early on. Okay, there's certain things that are said to us. What's said? These are kind of where we're handled with kid gloves. These are kind of the little soft things to, that they might say. For example, well, they're in a better place now. God needed them more. You have an angel on your shoulders. You have, and these are said to us in, at the funeral home. These are said at, following the funeral. These are things that are being said to us, as we go along. And a lot of times it's, these are our family and friends and people that are close to us that very rarely have they ever experienced the grief and the pain that you're feeling right now. If they have, they may still be saying it, okay? But the difference is you might feel a little more comfort coming from them because you understand the place that they're coming from and why they may be saying it. So you get some comfort. So these are kind of the feel-good things. And, where these things are being said is, like I said, funerals and at your home, at your counselor's, therapist meetings, at grief groups, things like that. And why are they saying it? Because they want to help you. They believe that these things are going to help you. They believe it's really going to do you good. But if you probably begin to ask the question, it's not really helping you out a lot. It's not really helping you, but you just kind of feel stuck. Okay? So, on the slide right here, you see there's a picture of a little girl. She's sitting outside like on her deck or something, and she looks visibly upset, like she's upset and crying. All right? This is kind of the first lie of grief. If I had to name this and put a caption to this girl is grieving, what would you say, put a caption to this, okay? What would you tell her, okay? If her grief has been going on for some time, let's say for months or possibly years, what would you probably tell her because she's still very physically and emotionally upset about something? And so what would you tell her? This is kind of the first lie of grief that I believe is a big lie that really gets under my skin, and it really started me getting angry to the point where this has got to change. I've got to change what this meaning is because this meaning doesn't do anything for me when people would tell me this. Even 20 years later, if they would tell me this, I would turn around and say, there's got to be more, okay? So the first lie of grief, and I want you to think about this. How many people have told you this lie? Okay? And what that is you just have to learn to cope with it. Okay? Just have to learn to cope with it. How does that make you feel? If somebody tells you that, what does that really mean to you? Okay? To me, what that means is you have to deal with it. What you've got is what you've got for the rest of your life, so just learn to deal with it, cope with it. It's not going to get any better. In other words, you're going to settle where you are. And this is the best that life has to offer you. That's what that means to me. And when you settle where you are, you stop growing. When you stop growing, you're dying. So in other words, maybe I should just sit around and wait to die. Count the days and feel like my life has been a total waste. Okay? I began to question this. I said, can't there be more than just coping with something? I mean, there's some truth in that statement. Don't get me wrong. I believe that you do have to learn to cope with it to a certain point. Once you get to the point where you have some coping skills and certain things that you can do with this coping, then you have to go to work to go beyond the coping. What I don't see in my situation when I went through the grieving process and what the grief community did, and the people that I currently work with and talk to now and that comment back to me, is it hasn't changed a whole lot. That most people are once they go through this process, they're turned loose onto the world, and they're expected to just cope with it. That they've given the very basic of basic skills to be able to cope with it. And, if you're used to having the luxuries of home and everything to go out, and you wanted to go live in the wilderness, how long would you survive eating bugs and ants and things when you're used to having McDonald's and fast food and food in your refrigerator anytime you want it? Okay? But now you have to go out there and you have to learn to cope with it. How long would you go before you just give up? Okay? That's why I think people – so that is really a statement that will keep you stuck right where you are because you're coping with what you've got today. Okay? Just cope with what you've got, and then when you wake up tomorrow, you'll have the same thing again. Okay? This was something that it got under my skin. It upset me. It bothered me because I really believe that there was something much more to life than just coping with it. Okay, that's what I'm getting at. If you have a lie, you have something that's been told to you that gets under your skin that you feel it's not true, and that really is holding you back, then write that down. Okay, if you believe that learning to cope with it is something that really bothers you, when somebody says this something to you, then you begin to say, well, what do I have to do to cope with it? I've been coping with this thing for a year. I've been coping with it for 5 years. In my case, I would tell people I've been coping with this for 24 years. What do you advise me to do so I can do better? And listen for the crickets because they have no clue. Because they don't know how to go beyond coping because all they've been taught is to be happy with what they've got. Okay? And so begin to question these things. Okay? Begin to question. If your counselor or therapist asks you or says this stuff, or somebody in your grief group, ask them. I've been coping with this for a year, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. How much longer do I have to cope with this? Or is this, or what you're saying is this an ongoing thing every second or third Thursday of the month where we're going to get together for the rest of my life? Okay? Think about it. Start to question these things. Okay, the second lie of grief, and this slide here online might give you an idea that we're talking. It's got a girl sitting on the minute hand of a clock. Okay, so obviously we're talking about something with time. All right, so kind of big clue, big hint there. Okay, while you think about what my second lie might be, I'm going to take a quick drink. All righty, back at you. Now, so the second lie of grief, and how many times have you heard this one? It just takes time. So my question back to them is, how much time does it take? Ask them that. How much time does it take? All right? This is a big one because it is an impossible question to answer. It's impossible. There's too many variables within that question to turn around and say, how much time does it take? So I answered the question the other day on Quora.com where a person was talking about how long does a person grieve, okay? And my answer to him is, if I had the answer, this is the golden question, if I had the answer to this, I would be a multimillionaire. But obviously I'm not, so let's give it our best try here. And I let him know that this is one of the lies that's predicated around grief, that it just takes time. So tell me, how much time does it take? If somebody's telling me that it takes time, then they should know how much time. But their answer is, well, everybody grieves differently, so you just have to handle it differently. That is not an answer. That is telling me you don't know shit. You don't know what it is you're talking about, because you're still waiting for that clock to click to where you wake up and it's no longer there. You are still giving it time. Or if you're a clinician in the book and you've never had personal experience, it's because it's in the book, because you really don't know how to get me from point A to point B. So you just tell me, give it time. And so what it does is it keeps me coming back to you once every week, every other week, twice a month, whatever the case is. And you keep sending me a bill where I have to pay you to keep coming back to seeing you when you really don't know how much longer I have to go on. But I guess it's job security for you that you can keep me in pain and keep me stuck where I am. So I guess I'll keep paying you, because what else? What other choice do I have? Well, I'm letting you know you have other choices, okay? You have a choice. But here's the thing. The way I look at this, how many of you remembered a movie called Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray, okay? He gets stuck in this recording where he wakes up every morning, it's Groundhog's Day, and he gets to do things differently. He's learning. He's learning, and he's going through this process of learning, and he's really learning how he can save people and do this and do things differently to get a particular result. Okay? Not until he gets that result was he set free from Groundhog's Day, and he moved forward. And in the end, he gets the girl, right? Well, in my Groundhog Day, I don't get the girl. But here's the thing. Every day I wake up, this is when I was lost in the fog. People say, hey, Rick, how did you get clarity in your life? How did you get out of the fog? How did you find what it was you're looking for? Well, here's my answer, people. Think of it like Groundhog Day, okay? Every single day I woke up during this period of time, and I wanted to go back to June 15th, 1993, and wake up again and get a do-over. And I get to do this day over again, learn from my mistakes, and can I do anything differently? What could I have done differently so I don't feel guilty? I don't feel like I'm a failure. I don't feel any of these feelings I feel. But what I learned after going through this process for over 20-plus years of living in my own personal groundhog hell, then what I learned was at the end of the day, my daughter was still dead. And there was really nothing that I could ever really do to ever change that. So you tell me it just takes time. Well, it took me over 20 years of kind of going through this own personal Groundhog Day, and when I finally realized that there was really nothing that I could ever do to really change anything in the past. So how do I begin to move forward? It took 20 years for this. So when people tell me, just give it time, because it did time, well, that's not the best answer. The best answer is, you know what, you're absolutely right. It does take time. Time is all that we have. We are each given 24 hours a day. What do you do with that time? You can sit, just like this girl on the screen, you can sit looking at the clock, counting the seconds, the minutes, the days, the weeks, the months, and the years, and then wondering where time went, and you are still suffering in grief. You still can't get out of the house. You still can't enjoy family outings. You can't still enjoy the holidays. You still can't enjoy things. You still are having grief outbursts. There's places you can't go. You've got certain triggers that just set you off emotionally. You cry when you don't want to cry, and you don't know why. Okay? So you can choose that path, or you can choose the path and begin to wrap your mind out. Because when we say it takes time, how much time? 10 years, 20 years? You know what? That's something that's very difficult to wrap your head around. But if I turn around and I look at you and say, well, Sam, it's like this. If you can, what do you want to accomplish what would you want to accomplish or create in your life or have in your life 12 months from now? Just 12 months. That's 12 months is something that we can wrap our heads around, right? We can do 12 months. Okay, it's not that long. It's 1 year, but we can do that. If we want to commit to it, we can do it. So what is it you want to create or bring into or have in your life that you don't have now that you would like to have? Not necessarily what you had back then, but it may be something that you had back then that you're missing in your life today. What would that be? And then turn around and then we develop a plan. And you know what? By doing so, you're just one step closer to creating that you want in your life. Okay, eliminating some of your grief, some of the emotions with grief, and you're one step closer. Now, wouldn't that be a much better way of saying something just takes time? I mean, it's not that hard to just kind of rethink. And then guess what? Your mind will handle those things a little bit differently. Then you can turn around and say, I can do that because it just takes time. It's like an open-ended question. There's not a period at the end of it. And I can't put a period on something I don't know, okay? So I hope you're getting this is some really good information. I hope you're getting a lot of good stuff here because I tell you, this is some of my best stuff that I have. And because a lot of people ask me, this or this. So what's next, okay? So what's next, which is, it's the third lie of grief, okay? This one's right up there. It might even be the king of all lies as far as grief. But, there is something that's very common with all three of these, okay? But this one is, I'm sure you've probably heard. And so this is the third lie of grief. And for those of you on Facebook and those of you that are on the phone, let me describe this slide. The slide has a whole bunch of people at the bottom. It has a blue question mark, and the dot in the question is the letter O, and the word spells normality. So the third lie of grief is this. My new normal. If I could have $5 for every time I've been told this, I could be a millionaire. And I don't have to have the answer to the golden question. But you know what? People say, just embrace your new normal. This is your new normal. What does that mean? What was normal? Well, what was normal was when my daughter was alive. And I had the future to look forward to and her to look forward to. And so what you're telling me now is my new normal is my daughter is dead and there's nothing for me to look forward to. That I'm going to live with grief every single day of my life, that I'm going to be sad on Christmas and Thanksgiving. All the memories and all the thoughts that I have and all the things that I believe that is going to give me problems in the future are going to still be there, that I need to just embrace it, that this is the best it's ever going to be, and this is going to be the way life is. That's a crock of shit. What does your new normal mean? That means that now, if you've got the perfect life and embrace your new normal, you've got a lot, you're truly blessed. But, if I'm trying to get to some point and accomplish something, like beat this thing of grief and loss and the depression and the anger and the sadness and the hopelessness and the, not having joy and I'm not happy, all those emotions and feelings that I have in my life, and you're telling me that I need to embrace this as my new normal? Well, why don't you just give me a gun and let me shoot myself in the head? It's no wonder that 15, 16 years ago, I did just that. I put a gun up to my head, and I pulled the trigger. Nothing came out, and I realized there was no bullets in the gun. And what I realized today, that is a blessing in disguise, because if that gun was loaded when I pulled it out of the desk drawer, I wouldn't be here probably talking to you. And then how many other people would I have hurt? Now, that is a really selfish thing. I put myself out of the misery, but you know what? How many other people would have been not only upset about their sister and daughter and granddaughter being dead, now, their daddy, the girl's daddy's dead, or, he took his own life. Now, they have to deal with that. So I went back to counseling. The first, almost, 10, 15 years didn't work. Let's go back and do it again. And guess what? I was told all the same stuff all over again. I was told all the same stuff that I had in my life before that I still have today, or not, I don't have today, but I did at that point in time, okay? So this was what my new normal. So what does that mean, okay? This word, or these three words, my new normal, or your new normal, or my new normal life, whatever it is, needs to be just stricken from your vocabulary. Get rid of it to put it in file 13, the trash can, okay? And get rid of it. It doesn't even belong. Do not tell somebody that, and don't say it to yourself, okay? Because this is not your new normal. So where you want to be in 12 months, what you want to create in your life in 12 months from now, that is going in the direction of your new normal. It doesn't mean that we're going to cure our grief in 12 months. It doesn't mean that we're going to be better in 12 months. It doesn't mean that we're going to be completely happy in 12 months. It doesn't mean any of that. It's just that 12 months from now, I'm going to be one step closer. Okay? In my 12-step program, I take somebody through this 12-step program to accomplish what it is that they want to do. Okay? And it's a 12-step process, which takes us about a year to accomplish, to get you to where you want to be a year from now. And there's a lot of things that we do in that process. So it doesn't, it doesn't necessarily get fixed overnight. But you know what? So the better way of looking at this is just saying, you're just one step closer. By you listening to this, watching this, reading this, doing the workbook, or whatever it is that I put out on about this, just understand this. You're one step closer because of it. Isn't that a better way of looking at something? By you coming to this grief group, you're one step closer to reaching what it is that you're looking for. Just give it time? No, don't give it time. You know what? By you taking the time, you're one step closer. Okay? By taking the time to learn to cope with your situation and continue working to get better, you're going to be one step closer. Does not make more sense than saying what it was? We need to change the conversation within the grief community. We need to change what's being said, not just with these three things, but there are hundreds upon hundreds of these things that are being said. We need to change the whole entire conversation and make it better. Okay, so I hope this is making sense to you. Okay? So because, like I said, there are hundreds of these lies that I have been told over the years and the decades that all started before my daughter ever passed away. These are the same things that are being said today that were being said over 24 years ago, that were being said over 50 years ago. Okay? But the further back in time you go, people weren't as vocal with their grief. It was just something you just didn't talk about. The Internet and things on the Internet have really brought this to the surface. And I believe that people in today's world, with everything that we've got going on, we have so much more stress, so much more pressure, and so many more problems, such as PTSD and all the other things that go along with it, that where many of us are just being pushed to the side, given a book, given this, and then we just get pushed to the side. But you know what? These are just a bunch of lies. We'll give you just enough information to keep you busy, and guess what? We'll keep you coming back. So these things are said to keep you stuck right where you are. Okay, so you're probably starting to ask yourself, what do I do now with all this information? Well, before we can kind of do anything with this information, let's kind of understand this one thing. What do these all have in common? And okay, so what do they have in common? All right. Well, they kind of mean the same thing, coping with your grief and give it time in your new normal. Okay, you can kind of tie all three of these things together. But what they really have is they stand for everything. Those things are all being said in the present tense. This is where you are today. So where you are today, just learn to cope with it. This is where you are today, but just give it time. Okay, it's an open-ended question. It's an impossible question. It's an impossible question to answer. Okay, or to be able to put a period to it. So it's present tense. Time, and it's where I am today. And then the other thing is this is your new normal. Embrace it. So in other words, where you are today, this is all the better it gets. It's all present tense. So what we want to do is change the conversation. So what do we do with this information? Let's change the conversation. Let's change what it is we're saying. Let's change how we're saying it, not only to ourselves but to other people. Because then guess what? We will internalize that. And then we have a plan. We know where we want to be in 12 months from now. So if we start saying these things a little bit different and we start putting them, instead of in present tense form, we put them into what I call future form, or something in the future, putting it out there, say 12 months from now, thinking of things maybe 6 months from now, next month, whatever the case is. And now guess what? It gives you some place to go. Okay? Now you're taking off your time and you're blocking it off for 12 months out of the year, and so now you have little exercises, projects you want. Now let me ask you a question. If you were in the health and fitness and you watch some infomercial and you learn how to do some exercises and you want to lose weight, what's the likelihood you'll be successful with that and reach your goal weight? Remember, results are not typical, okay? Probably not all that great, okay? The other thing is let's say I buy a online course and I start watching some videos and maybe download a calendar or something and a meal plan. What's the likelihood I will be successful with that? Well, I think it would be better than just watching a 30-minute infomercial and trying to do it on my own. So the odds go up a little bit. But let's say I was to hire a personal trainer or a personal coach, a dietitian, and all these people to come in, and let's say I hire them as my team and I bring them in to help me achieve this particular result. What's the likelihood that I'm going to be able to accomplish my goal? It goes up even more. But understand, results are not typical. Nothing can really be guaranteed because it depends on you, right? But here's the one thing you got going for you. Grief is a very debilitating and very destructive emotion. And I know and I believe and I know you don't really like where you are today, okay? So you want to achieve a particular result. So what is that result that you want to achieve, okay? And my 12-step program can help you achieve that. Here's the things. First thing is you got to understand words have power. Understand that they also have meaning to them, and it's how we internalize these. The other time, it is time to inspire. So it's time to inspire and change and bring about the change in ourselves and in others with the grief community. So let's not keep this to ourselves. When we go to grief groups, counseling therapists, we talk to other people within our family, start using these things, put them in present tense. If somebody says one of these things it's a grief lie, either my grief lies, or like I said, you come up with your own. Ask them what does it mean? What do I do with this information? How do I accomplish what it is you're telling me to do? Okay, let them know that you're questioning that. And I tell you, and probably in most cases, you're going to hear crickets because they don't really know themselves, okay, because they've never sat down and put together a plan to achieve what it is they're trying to tell you. Okay? They've read it out of books. They've done something. They've got a bunch of letters after their name. Nothing against them. I don't want to say their programs don't work. It works for some people. Some people it doesn't. This is just another option. This is something I've learned that worked for me that also works for others. It doesn't necessarily work for everybody. Okay? It just, it just gives you another option. It gives you something. If what you've been doing for years now isn't really working, then maybe it is something new, something different that you need to look at and think about. Okay? I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So how do we go beyond grief? How do we go beyond living with our grief? Well, it starts with change. Okay? It starts with us. Understand, it starts with us or you. okay, to change the way you're thinking, the way you're processing and talking and communicating about your grief and your feelings and emotions, okay? Begin to spread the word about the change and how it's working in your life so it can begin to implement and work in other people's lives, okay? And then turn around and begin to share this within the grief community, that these are the people that typically talk about grief, and begin to share how you're feeling and how you're doing with it. And let them know how important, and if you're getting results and you're feeling better, then let them know how important it is for them to begin to learn this too, because here's the thing. If not, the next person that comes behind you 5 years, 10 years from now is going to be experiencing the same thing. Now, how fair is that? The reason why I do what I do is because I want to make an effective change. It allows me to get up each and every day with meaning and purpose and have, a goal in life. And what it was, it's my little, each day I have a program. I get up between 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I work until sometimes 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. So I'm working anywhere from 14 hours on that, 12, 14 hours up to 16 hours a day. But it's not work. It's a passion. I love what I do. So if what I do doesn't feel like work, then guess what? I don't get really all that tired, because I talk to people every day. I communicate with people every day. I set appointments every day. And I get the opportunity to help people every day. I learn so much from you, and in turn you learn from me, and we both grow and we both become better. That's the difference of why I look at myself as I'm an empowerment grief coach. Okay, I want to empower you to take your life back. Okay, to go from a life situation that has disempowered you to take you to a position of empowerment, to take your life back and conquer your grief and conquer the emotions and everything around grief. And I'm going to coach you through this process. You're going to do the work, but I'm going to hold you accountable, because I'm going to be that coach. Just like you have an athletic coach, every professional athlete, actors, doctors, all these professional people have coaches in their life. Okay? I'm not going to sell you on the advantages and why you should have a coach in your life. That's totally up to you. But here's the thing. Okay, you have the choice. You can take this information, implement it on your own, and remember, results aren't typical. Okay, or you can turn around and pick up the recording and watch it over again, and then practice, and you'll get a little more success. Or you can turn around and pick up the phone or send me an email to rick@afathersloss.com and schedule a time, and we'll block out 2 hours. This is my gift to you. Just give you 2 hours of my time. It's my gift to you that I normally charge $495 for, and I'm going to give you this time for us to sit down and put together your 12-step program that's going to allow you to get to where you want to go. Okay? We're going to find out what it is that you want to, what it is. And, I see that Darlene's here, and she's saying she wants to be happy. And, and she's saying about her grandson, very... this is something that really is emotional to me. This is why I do what I do, because there's people hurting, just like this. And, Darlene, what do you want to accomplish in 12 months is happiness. But understand that happiness is a very broad term, but it's real simple. It's just like this. If you want to have happiness in your life, what you want to do is think about things in your life that make you happy. Your grandson makes you happy. He should have a happy mother, okay? And he should, and you deserve to be happy, and so does he. So what makes you happy? Set small, just saying I want to be happy is something that's kind of, is such a big thing, because, you can't have a smile and a frown on your face at the same time unless you paint it on, right? And you can't think of a happy thought and a sad thought at the same time. It's just, those two things are just physically and mentally impossible to do. So what it is you think about something in your life that makes you happy, and think about that. It brings a smile to your face. And then we set a plan, and that plan would be, how do we accomplish more of that? So in 12 months' time from now, you're going to be, along the way, you're going to be one step closer to achieving happiness in your life. Okay? So your grandson can know that his grandmother and his mother and everybody in his family is happy. Okay? And you can start by just saying this to yourself each day when you get up. I'm one step closer. I'm one step closer, because, we can't necessarily fix this overnight, and we can't necessarily fix it all in 12 months. But you know what? We can be one step closer to getting it done. And by doing so, we're looking into the future, and we're planning for our future, and we're going to do the work that it's going to take us to get there. Okay? That's how I would work with somebody, but we would set a plan together to get together on a regular basis to begin to implement these things and know, and I hold you accountable, and we have homework, and we have all these things that go along with this so we can get to where we want to go. Okay, I hope this is making sense, okay? So if you would like to take some time and talk to me a little bit more about this and learn more about my 12-step program and share a little bit about yourself and what you want to accomplish in your life and how I can help you do that. Now, I can't help everybody, okay? And I make no promises to do so. You know, I take on a select few people, okay? I do this personally on a one-on-one. It's not some video training course where I send out 1,000 videos. Okay. Yes, there's some videos involved with this, but at the same time, you know, you're going to have personal touch with me. You're going to be in touch with me via email, Skype, all kinds of different ways, video, and on the phone. We're going to get on the phone. So we're going to talk about your progress and the steps that we need to take. And if when we take 2 steps forward and we take a step back, we're going to turn around and figure out why did that 1 step come back, and let's get you going back the other way. Okay? But that's okay, because sometimes when we take a step back, that's part of the learning curve, okay? We're learning in the process. We begin to pull out our life lessons and the things that we've learned from our past, and we begin to implement those things so then we can achieve a little bit more happiness in our life, a little bit more joy, okay? We can begin to see things in a positive situation. We begin to feel like we have meaning. We get up each and every day where we can affect the change and make a difference in somebody's life, because when we begin to take the focus off ourselves and put the focus on other people, guess what? A lot of times our problems are meant. Our problems are solved. Okay, so I hope that this makes sense for you. Email me at rick@afatherslost.com or go to my website at afatherslost.com. There's a contact section there. You can get in touch with me through there, okay? And or go to those of you that are on my Facebook page. You're on Facebook, right at the top, you'll see a little box up there, a blue box that says email. Click on that, and it'll shoot an email direct to me. I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you, and I look forward to, you know, with your questions, your concerns, whatever it is you may have. Make sure if you would like to get a copy, a downloadable PDF transcript of this, send me an email. Let me know that you would like to have that. Look for the ebook on this, you know, hopefully here soon when we get it transcribed and get it edited. We'll put it in ebook and get it out there. And then the other part is we'll break this down also and put this into a workbook so you can figure out what your 3 big lies are in your life and how you can begin to change your conversation with yourself and the other people that you care about in your life. And you can begin to create change in your grief community, the people around you, with what you feel is very passionate and important to you, that these people have kept you stuck. They have kept you where you are. And in turn, you're choosing no longer to be stuck, and you're choosing not to be lost in the fog anymore. You're going to gain clarity in your life, and you're going to go to work to fix that problem, okay? But we're going to manage this over the next 12 months, okay? Not over the next 12 years, but the next 12 months, we're going to take 1 step at a time, and you'll be 1 step closer to achieving and eliminating some of your grief out of your life so you can begin to live an empowered life. Make sense? Okay, you guys are awesome. Hey, I appreciate all the hearts and the love you're sending back to me. Again, you know, blessings to each and every one of you, and much love. And, you know, you all are in my prayers, and I'm thinking much of you, and I appreciate everything you guys do for me. So, and I just hope that I can do just as much for you as you guys do for me. So, you guys are awesome. You have a good night.